Before starting this class, I had a soft understanding of social justice and the different cultures we might encounter while being a teacher or just living our daily lives. Throughout my schooling so far, teachers never really discussed what social justice is and the differences in the wide variety of cultures that span across the world. The push for the acceptance of cultures is very important to teach the youth of America today. My vision for multicultural education is that each student throughout their time in high school takes a class in social justice. I believe that this will help students of the future be more diverse and accepting of the many different types of people they will encounter. Expressing diversity to children at a younger age allows them to be more open to the rapid changes of society. One issue I believe would help my vision of diversity in public education would be the discussion of stereotypes and how they offend people. I think the issue of stereotyping is something that everyone does subconsciously, or even because they have seen it on movies and on television. Eliminating stereotypes at a younger age will help with the diversity of this world and just make everyone a better person in the long run. Another issue that I think will help my vision of diversity in public education would be to talk about sexual orientation in health classes. Talking about sexual orientation will help create a more safe environment for those who are going through changes and if they just don't understand the differences that are associated with sexual orientations. The last issue that I think will help to define my vision of diversity in public education will be discussing religion with my students. Talking with students about the different types of religion will allow them to be more accepting when they are put in the outside world with so many different religious beliefs. Many times students like myself live in a bubble and do not get to experience other religions. Educators should address the issues of diversity, privilege, and power by discussing it in classes or by showing examples of each of these three subjects. Trying to embed information about diversity, privilege, and power into lessons or activities can be an easy way for teachers to get all of their students more well-rounded in these subjects. Also, for teachers, it is important to embrace the differences in the students that they are teaching each and every day. As an educator, I will need to be able to understand that all of my students are going to be different. I will also have to be well versed in all of their differences and have to find ways to teach the students in a group setting and individually. To better meet the needs of my students, I will need to attend workshops, classes, or meetings that discuss the topic of culture. Another thing that is important to do as an educator is to learn more about student disabilities, whether they are mental or physical. If teachers get more of an understanding of student disabilities, they will be adapted to teach all groups and areas of students. Lastly, our voice projects really helped to learn more about student disabilities. One key thing that I remember from this class is the activity about privilege, with the paper chains we had to make. It really helped me to understand how privileged I was growing up, and it put into perspective that all people or students will not have the same life experiences as me. Another key concept I remember after this class was our discussion about gender and sexual orientation, because when we started I was scared to talk about it, but now I feel more open. From this class, and now my enhanced knowledge of cultural identity, it has made me review some of the events of my past. With my increased knowledge in cultural identity, it has made me wonder why I thought in some ways that I did about certain topics when I was younger. Also, it made me think back on movies or books I have seen that are more culturally inappropriate now than when I first saw them. For the present, my increased knowledge of cultural identity has made me more outspoken in the classroom with my peers. This is because I feel more comfortable with more serious conversations that arise in the classroom. With my current education, I have been able to see and listen to many different viewpoints on varying topics of cultural identity. For the future, I think that with my increased understanding of cultural identity, I will be able to teach my future students the differences in culture and social justice. Also, in the future, I think I will be able to be more of an outlet for my students that are struggling with bullying about race or cultural identity. Lastly, because of the increase of future teachers learning about cultural identity, it will allow for the next wave of students to be more diverse. What I learned in this class will be something that I will use every day. For my everyday life, this class will help me better interact with people of different cultures, races, or genders because I have a greater understanding of the many differences. It will help me use proper language and be more aware of the wrong things to say to people of different races, cultures, or sexual orientations. For teaching, I would like to take many of the things I learned in this class and express them to the next wave of students that I'm going to teach. I really liked many of the activities we did throughout the class, and with Dr. Field's permission, of course, I would like to borrow some of those to show my students the differences in culture and how they they can relate to everyday life. From the beginning of the class till now, I feel as though my knowledge of the world and the many different types of people that are on it has increased. I've gained knowledge in different types of genders, and before this class, I was much more closed-minded about genders. At the start of this class, I believed a lot of stereotypes that were out there, and now I know they're offensive and not true. At the beginning of this class, I had no idea about the major differences in education that arise with the differences in geography, like rural, urban, or suburban areas. From the unit leadership presentation, I saw that the suburban area was the leader out of the three, but students from rural and urban schools often struggle with the lack of resources and improper funding. Over the course of this class, I have received many important insights, and the first was with immigration and the struggles that immigrants go through. I never knew the difference between the two terms, asylee and refugee, but now, thankfully, I understand that an asylee is already in the United States, whereas a refugee has to get permission to come to the United States before they arrive. Another insight I was able to gain through this course on sexual orientation from one of the unit leadership presentations. I was able to understand the differences between orientation, behavior, and identity. The thing that was most eye-popping from the unit leadership presentation was a video about Sam's story. It really helped me to show the difficulties that kids and teens can go through when they struggle with sexual orientation. The last insight I will discuss has to do with the last topic of the year, and that was language diversity and culture. From this chapter, I learned the struggle that students can go through if English is not their first language. Through the activity with the video of the lady speaking in Portuguese, it really hit me that most students that don't have English as their first language can struggle when they arrive in the United States. To close out the presentation, I would like to say that many of the lessons that I've learned in this class will be carried with me through my teaching career. I hope to express the things that I've learned about social justice, culture, race, and sexual orientation to my future students or peers. References.